Welcome back students to Proactive Cyber Defense Engineering using Python by Cybervidyapeeth Foundation in association with All India Council of Technical Education and the Computer Emergency Response Team of India, CERT-In. Today is the day 19. We will be going ahead and having a look at some CTFs or capture the flags for today. It was brought to my attention that a lot of you were craving to have practical experience, some form of, gamified experience into the field of cybersecurity. As such, we have made the decision to show you guys a few free-to-play CTFs available online, which will help you improve your skills further in the field of cyber defense. Okay? So today, the platform that I'm going to cover is going to be called as actually I'm decided not to fixate on a specific platform, so we can switch platforms if you guys wish it so, but for the most part I will be focusing on tryhackme.com. Okay, that's the platform for the most part I'll be focusing on. Of course, again, we can change it if you guys want to look at a different platform. Okay, so let me share my screen so that you are able to actually go ahead and have a look. So let me quickly start the share and you should be able to see my screen almost immediately afterwards. So here we go. My screen should be visible now to all of you. Please confirm in the chat if you can see my screen. Perfect. So now that you can see my screen, let's start today's class. Let's not spend too much time here. I would also like you to all to inform your friends and family who are part of this course to quickly just join in the session. Okay, because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Nobody is actually going to sit live and explain all this to you. This requires a lot of experience. So here I am in my terminal right now, right? So this is my terminal. It's an application called as the Terminator. Okay, so that's the name of the application, and it's running the following terminal settings, which you can find out by doing the echo term variable. It's running in the xterm mode with 256-bit color. Okay. Now, this allows me to use shortcuts. So I can do things like Control L to clear the screen, etc. TW and then press a tab to, get double press tab to get autocomplete, etc. So this is a very easy way to quickly type in commands, right? Now, the platform we will be targeting is going to be TryHackMe. So here I am in TryHackMe, right? And today I decided to do something a little different. This is just one of my many accounts on TryHackMe. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick one. Okay, so I am going to, go into, any of these. Say I want to look at the newest, right? So we have some of these that are easy. And if you guys want, we can also do hard or even medium difficulty boxes. Okay. So the one that I have picked up, if you guys like it, is the basic pen testing one. Now this is interesting for a few reasons. The first reason is John Hammond has made a video on it. And the second reason is this is a very, very good box if you're just trying to understand the absolute basics of how to do pen testing or penetration testing, which is just a small facet of cyber defense engineering. But nevertheless, it is still a facet that needs to be understood, right? So because we need to, get deeper into this topic, why not start with a very basic box, a box that, I recommend everybody do. So today I'm going to show you this box. So to do that, what you need to do here is, first of all, connect to TryHackMe's network. Because if you're not connected to TryHackMe's network, you will not be able to actually communicate with this box right here, and we'll be able to solve it. Okay. So to communicate, the first thing you need is you need to get the Openvpn file. Now I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a second, okay, so that I can quickly go ahead and download the Openvpn file. And it is very easy. You just click on your your profile icon and click on Access. And then inside Access, you will see an entire section with a green button, big green button, which says Download My Configuration File. You just want to click on it, and just like that, your configuration file will have been downloaded. Once the configuration file is downloaded, I'm going to share my screen again so that you guys are again able to see me. So share screen, entire screen, there we go. So once the file is downloaded, I'm going to create a folder called demo, okay, DEM or demo, and I'm going to go inside the folder. Now, as you can see, the folder is completely empty. There's nothing inside this folder. And I'm going to copy from my downloads the VPN file, also known as the OVPN or OpenVPN file, to my current directory. How am I doing that? By using this dot operator right here. In Bash, dot signifies the current folder you're inside, and two dots symbolize the previous folder. Okay, but that does not extend to 3 dots. So don't think that 3 dots will take you 3 times back. For that, you'll have to do dot dot twice. Okay. So if I hit enter and do an ls again, now you can see that we do have another file, which is the OpenVPN file. So to connect to the OpenVPN file, I am going to do sudo OpenVPN, which is an application that you can find in almost every Linux distribution by default. And it can be installed on Windows in just a few simple steps. Again, thousands of videos online are available for you to do this. So I'm going to do OpenVPN lolthunder.openvpn. And I'm going to type in my password and give it a few seconds until we receive this message right here at the down, which says initialization sequence completed. Once that happens, I'll switch the terminal to a different one. I'll let that terminal run in background. I will not touch it. And inside this new terminal, I'll zoom in a little bit so that it's more visible for some of you. And I'm going to type ifconfig tunnel 0. And you will see here we have a network adapter, a tunnel adapter, also known as a VPN adapter, which is a virtual adapter. Okay, so it does not physically exist on my system, but was created in software by my Linux kernel. And this allows me, with the following IPv4 and the following IPv6 IP address, to communicate to the TryHackMe network. Okay, so if we again go back to the TryHackMe website right here, and I just refresh, in a few seconds you will see that this access machines button is going to disappear, and it's just going to say my IP here, which is 10.17.1.1.1.133. Okay, so this IP is going to come up here. It's going to take a few seconds. TryHackMe is glitchy about it. So until that happens, I'm going to come down here to task 1, which is the only task inside this lab for solving this box called basic pen testing. I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to click on start machine. And I'm going to quickly close that, and it says, hooray, your machine has started. It may need a few minutes to be accessible. And now you can see that in about 1 minute, we will get an IP address to this machine. This is one of the reasons I prefer the TryHackMe and the Hack the Box model and platform, because they're truly amazing. They allow you to quickly for an entire hour for free, which is incredible. If you had a similar level of professionally built, say, virtual machine that you were buying from someone, you would pay hundreds of dollars an hour, and that is free here. So you should, you should appreciate these free resources such fantastic websites have given us. Yes, here I am using Ubuntu. This system you are seeing on your screen, it's actually a virtual machine, Ubuntu virtual. You don't know that it's a virtual machine, but it is a virtual machine. So let's just give it a few seconds, and there we go. You see that the the IP address has popped up. So I'm going to click on the icon just below it to copy it. Okay. And I'm going to maybe add another hour to it. Yeah, I'm going to make it 2 hours. So I think we get like 2 hours for free or something. And then I'm going to go this side and I'm going to try to ping to it in my terminal. So if we remember in my earliest classes, you would remember, right? That ping means to actually just, poke into a system. So here, that's all I'm going to try to do. I'm going to do ping dash C3, which means only poke 3 times. And I'm going to poke at this packet, this address. And you notice that we were able to successfully poke. And I say successfully because it says that 3 packets or pokes were transmitted and 3 were received. And 0% was lost, meaning that we have absolutely no issues with the connection. And here is the time it took to transfer each of those packets, right? So that's how we know that the system is up and running. So we can actually connect and attack the system now. So what I'm going to do is I'm again going to go into the demo folder because that's where we want to do all this. And I'll start with a simple Nmap scan. So I'll do sudo nmap dash small s capital C, which is for common scripts, enumerate scripts, dash sv for enumerate all versions, OA is for output all formats. And here's what I'm going to do, okay? I'm going to, inside Terminator terminal, I'm going to press Control Shift O. And the moment I press Control Shift O, notice how my terminal split down. Realize that? And I can use Alt up and down arrow to actually move between these arrows. So this is a very simple splitting technique inside Terminator. So now what I'm going to do is, inside this other terminal, I'm going to type mkdir nmap. Then I'm going to exit out of this terminal. So that closes that additional terminal I opened. And after the dash OA, I am going to put the folder name, and then basically you can say a term for all the files. So all the nmap log files will be called initial because this is the first scan that I'm doing. Okay. Then I want it to be verbose, so I'm going to use a few V's here. Dash VVV basically means extreme verbosity. So show me all the details, don't hide anything from me. And then finally, you want to give the IP address. Okay. So once you have put all of this in, you can actually go ahead and run the scan. If this was a real world Nmap scan, I would recommend you to use the dash T1 or T2 because this will slow down your scan and make you very stealthy. Of course, it won't defend you against, say, CrowdStrike, next generation firewalls, right? Anything that uses artificial intelligence, it will immediately see through such a simple scan. But this is still a way to fool many firewalls, many open source firewalls, even till today, using T1 and T2. What this does is it slows down your scan to extreme levels. So it makes it excruciating for you because you have to spend more time on your scan. But at the same time, it makes it so much better for all the other people that are going to be, using the scan, like being the victim of the scan, because the victim of the scan now this time around will have much less of an idea if he or she is being scanned, right? So that I feel is an extremely important point. Okay, some people am I clearly visible and audible to everyone? Please confirm before I move forward, because from here on out the real fun starts. Some people are asking about the attendance link. Don't worry, the attendance link will be shared soon. Okay, this class will go on for a few hours. Don't worry. Perfect. Okay, so I am clearly audible and visible. So in here, I'm not going to use the timing flag for Nmap. And I'm just going to run this command. So I'm going to hit enter. And because this is a root-based command, it has root privileges. It's going to ask me for the password, which I'm going to enter my password. Don't worry, it's not that easy. Okay, I realize that I've been typing a wrong password. And there we go. The scan starts. We find a bunch of open ports, correct? So let's give the scan a few seconds. Yeah. So the scan has now successfully finished, correct? So how do we know, okay, what was the result of the scan? Do we go through all this data? Well, you could, or you could do it the way I like to do it, which is to basically just go ahead and look into the log files that we had created. So remember that we created a folder called Nmap. So let's go inside that folder. This is the location of the folder. I'm going to ls into that, and you'll see that the three files, initial.gnmap, nmap, and xml. I am interested in the .nmap, which is basically just a text file. Okay, so you want to cat into that file, and you want to use the less parameter. Actually, before we do that, how do I know that is a text file? You can use the file utility in Linux. You can read the manual page of file by doing man file. If you hit enter, it lets you gives you so many different options to determine what type of file it is. So I can do file initial.nmap, and notice that when I do it, it tells me that this looks like an HTML document with a lot of ASCII text and very long lines. Okay. So let's try catting initial.nmap out using the less utility. And now we can see less has more or less parsed it for us. And we can now see the contents of the scan. Okay. So here, the first thing we notice is port, state, service, reason, and version. Keep your eyes open. Okay. Not show 994 closed ports. So out of 1,000 ports scanned, it looks like 6 were open. So here's 1, here's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 ports. So 6 ports were open, as a matter of fact. And you might be asking why only 1,000 ports when I have read in my Wikipedia or my research that 65,000 something ports exist, right? Network ports. Then why only 1,000? So these are the common 1,000 ports that Nmap always looks for. You can consider them juicy ports also, things that usually have vulnerabilities. You can instruct Nmap to do a full scan. And the way you do that is, so I will come back to this command. The way you do that is very simple actually. Okay, I forgot I don't have a shortcut. So sudo nmap -sc -sv -p dash is basically how you specify I want all the ports, and then you just give the IP address, and you might also want to mention the folder and the name of the file, which will be all ports, and rather than a dash underscore is preferred in the Linux community. So I'm just going to hit enter. Perfect. And then I'm going to split my window, come down to this second window, and press Ctrl Shift Z to zoom into the below window, and I can again zoom out by Ctrl Shift Z. Okay, so there are actually 2 windows here. I'm just zooming into the bottom one. Once I'm zoomed in, I can actually open more split panes here, so I can actually do something like this as well. Okay, so I don't want to do that right now, so let me zoom in. Now let me go back into Nmap again. Let me cat initial.nmap with less again, and we are back where we started. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to quickly look at, okay, what's running. So SSH is running, and definitely this is Ubuntu, because we can see Ubuntu Linux here, right? So by now you can be pretty much confirmed, right, that you're playing around with an Ubuntu Linux server. What else? We see AICTE is open with an Apache HTTP daemon server 2418 Ubuntu. Interesting. So we don't know if this Apache is vulnerable to something or not. So here's my first advice to all of you. When you see something, look for something. So we are going to immediately go to google.com. Okay. And we are immediately going to search for 2418 Apache exploit. That's the first thing I want you to do. And it says that anything less than greater than 248.24.33 Apache grateful local privilege escalation. So we do seem to have a local privilege escalation, but I can't seem to find a direct exploit. It might exist. I mean, I could always look in GitHub, and there might be somebody else's. Yeah, there's a local root exploit. Definitely, that is interesting. We could use that. I can also see some write-ups about how to enumerate and exploit it. I can see that there looks to be, I think, an LFI, but I don't think there is an RCE because the RCE is a big thing. So, okay. So now we know that, okay, this has a local privilege escalation. So if we get a shell, we might be able to privilege escalate from the server to the user or even root account. That's the first thing we have learned. The second thing, let's go down again. SSH, from experience, I know that OpenSSH 17.2 P2 is not publicly vulnerable as far as my knowledge goes. It is not vulnerable. You can brute force usernames, if I remember correctly, on 7.2, but you cannot brute force. I mean, you can always brute force, but you cannot directly get a remote code execution, is what I know. Then you have 139, which looks like NetBIOS. 445, yes, definitely SMB NetBIOS. So some SMB Samba server is in play here. You have 8009 TCP, which looks like AGP 13 question mark. Okay, that's weird. But AGP actually supports get, head, post, and options. And actually, if you select this and you go to Google and you quickly search in Google, what are these get, head, posts? You will see that these are HTTP request methods, meaning that most probably on this port also there is a web server running, HTTP web server with a different name. And 8080 also looks to have some kind of web server running, okay, which is not really giving us that much of information, I would say. It's just pumping all its HTML onto the screen, right? It does tell it that it's an Apache Tomcat. So if you know you are taking notes, you can take notes right now that, okay, this is an Apache Tomcat running 907 version, right? Going down again, this is all just standard signature running on Linux kernel, perfectly fine. Okay, this is interesting. This is the magic of Nmap. Nmap ran a script called nbstat, also known as nbtstat in some cases, which was able to extract net BIOS information from this system, because the system is using SMB. And SMB, for those who do not know, SMB, so let's look for what is SMB first. SMB stands for Server Message Block. Okay, it's a communication protocol or a set of rules developed in 1983 by this guy. Not even going to try to pronounce his name. And was intended to provide shared access to files and printers across nodes on a network running IBM software. Microsoft and 3Com implemented SMB in LAN Manager for OS2, which was one of the earliest OS they made. And SMB was used in the NetBIOS service atop NetBIOS frames protocol. Microsoft implemented SMB in Windows NT 3.1 and has been updating it ever since, adapting it to work with newer underlying transports such as TCP/IP, NetBT, etc. SMB implementation consists of two vaguely named Windows servers, server ID Lemon server and workstation ID Lemon workstation. It uses NTLM and Kerberos protocols for user authentication. Okay, so now I think you have a general idea of what SMB is. If you want to generalize it even further, what SMB is, I will tell SMB is just like ping. It is sending a message from one place to another. Instead of poking someone, now you are just handing them a message. That is SMB. Simple, easy to understand, right? SMB is not that complex, I think, right? So now we understand the basic of what SMB is. The next question is, okay, what is all this? What is going on here? So if you look closely, you realize that it is giving us net BIOS information, and we just read that net BIOS runs SMB. And it says that there are some things here with the name basic 000320. There is some weird MS browse thing. There's work groups here. I have no idea what's going on, but here's the data. It gives you a statistics, which is basically 0, and which is actually correct in this case. Then it gives you the P2P conflicker. If you don't understand what a conflicker is, don't worry, we will come to it. Then it says that SMB OS discovery failed. There was an error in our code, in the code of Nmap. Okay, so we need to look into this by using the -D. We might after we solve this box. SMB security mode, account used guest, authentication level user, challenge response supported, message signing disabled, dangerous but default. So what does this tell you? It tells you that the SMB service being used on that system is allowing for some kind of guest login, and it's giving you the privileges of a normal user. and any kind of challenge response that it may have, it is supported. And the messages are not signed. The messages that SMB is sending from A to B, to Bob to Alice, Alice to Bob, are not signed by some kind of key, cryptographic key or certificate, right? Finally, you get some date and time detail, which is definitely going to be wrong, because Nmap doesn't have an idea of the correct date and time. It's just trying to predict that information. So with that, I feel we have more than enough information to proceed. So here's what I like to do. I know that this IP address has a web server, right? So the IP address was, okay, let's cat nmap initial nmap less, okay. Actually, let's just cat it. Let's just cat it in here. Just go to the absolute top, and there you go, 10, 10, 4, 25. So let's actually go in here and try to open 10, 10, 4, 25. So when we try to open this, the website, right, we see this message which says undergoing maintenance, please check back later. Now, me being me, I am a hacker, right? So when somebody tells me to go back and not do it, I'm not going to listen. So the first thing I like to do when doing web hacking is to look for the robots.txt file. The robots.txt file is usually found on these kinds of servers. Here we can see it is not found, but we got so much more juicy information. It confirmed our initial analysis, which version we are running. It confirmed. Now see, this data you received from the victim itself. So now it is confirmed that they are using Ubuntu Linux. Otherwise, they can be using 300 different types of Linux systems. Who knows, right? Now it is confirmed. So now you can trust the data Nmap has given you. So one interesting way I like to deal with such servers, okay, one very interesting way I like to play around with such servers is to actually run some kind of brute force against their directories or folders, okay. So here's how I do it. I go to my terminal, clean my terminal, and then we will run a tool called Derby. So you can see Derby was not found, and that's completely fine. And it's actually, you know, I can understand that, okay, Derby was not found. So what we can do, Derby means basically directory brute forcer, okay. So apt install Derby. Again, it's asking me for that password, and I'm pretty sure I messed up the password. So let's put the password again. Perfect. So this is going to go ahead, download and install Derby. Okay. Now let's do man Derby. And Derby, when you look at the manual page for Derby, it tells you that this is a web content scanner. Okay. It lets you scan for content on a URL based on a word list. It also has a default word list which will work in this case. So we can actually do Derby http:// and then what I'm going to do is, again, I keep forgetting the IP. It's 10, 10, 425. So 10, 10, 425 slash, right? So if I hit enter, it will start scanning the URL for common paths that there may be from this location. So this location actually has the word list, right? Derby word list is common, right? So it's now looking for all the different common names. As you can see, it's actually testing against that web server. It's brute forcing that web server to find out, okay, is that there? Is that there? Is this there? Is that there, right? This is an active operation. I repeat, what you're saying in front of you, this can be considered an active operation. What it means is that you are actually hitting the target. The target is getting massive traffic on your end. By traffic, I mean they can see who you are. Okay, this is very, very important. So I am going to let this run until it reaches E. Okay, so right now you can see it's at A and it's pretty fast. So I'm going to let it run till E. Okay, because I know before it hits E, it will find something. This is, again, you know, hacking is a game of patience. It's about waiting to find the right thing. Of course, if you're asking me if we did this in a real world system with, you know, cutting edge security, will I be able to hack? No. Will you be able to brute force Google like this? Definitely not. But it is a technique. It is the concept that matters here. Okay. So again, let's give it a few seconds, and when we find something out, we'll continue. So let's give it a few seconds. And by the way, while this is running, I would like to zoom out and see if my scan completed, and it did complete. So I'm going to zoom into my old window. I'm going to try to look for any other ports that may have been found. And it looks like no, none of the additional ports were found. We only found 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 ports. So still 6 ports. So there's no hidden ports out of the 65,000 that were on and we didn't check for them. That's good. So now what I want to do is I want to run this tool called Nikto. So Nikto, right? And it's already installed. So I can actually just do Nikto -help. And okay, that's not a helpful option. I need to do, I think, single dash. Okay, even that doesn't exist. That's weird. What about man Nikto? Yeah, there we go. It's definitely the Nikto I know. I thought it may be some other executable. So I can do dash. Then can I provide it a host? So I can provide it a host. And then I can provide 10, 10, 4, 25, right? Yeah, there it go. It found the Apache server on port 80 and it started scanning. So what I recommend you do is, instead of running the scan like this, you pipe it into a file. So say that I'm going to call the file, I don't know, nikto.log. This way, whatever output Nikto is giving you is actually being piped to a command called T, which is parsing it and saving it as text inside a file called nikto.log in your current folder. This way, you are running two tools at once. If you see, now you're running two tools at once. And notice how we have found a directory or a folder here down here. So I'm going to now switch down and zoom into here. And you can see we found this folder development. So I'm just going to copy this entire path, paste the path, and hit enter. When I do that, we can see here index of development. Okay, and you can see, okay, this is clearly a file server of some sort. Here we can see two files, dev and j. So let's click on dev first. And here's the message. It says, I've been messing with strut stuff. It's pretty cool. I think I might be need to host on this server too. Haven't made any real web apps yet, but I've tried the example to get you to show off how it works. And it's the REST version of the example. Okay, so it looks like some kind of API. Struts looks like some kind of technology we don't know about. So we might want to Google about that, right? What is struts actually? So Apache Struts, okay, that's interesting. Apache Struts is a free open source model view controller framework for creating elegant modern Java web applications. Okay, so we can already see there's some Java going to be involved here. It is extensible architecture, ships with plugins to support REST API, AJAX, and JSON processing. Interesting. So that means there is something like that going on here. Oh, right. I'm using version this because other versions were giving me trouble. Okay, so they have told us what version they're using. Now that has my head. I want to actually look for Apache Strut, STR UTS. I think this is the correct spelling. Yeah, 2.5.12 REST plugin extreme remote code execution. I think this is a remote code execution. Did we find the right expert? Let's see. Remote code execution. Okay. REST plugin. Okay, so this guy also looks like this is for REST also, and we have been talking about the REST plugin example. Okay, interesting. Clearly vulnerable. Runs on Python 3, which is nice to know. And then we have the code. Okay, so before we dive deep into the exploit and try to make it and run it against our own, one of the easy things I like to do, and this is completely the easier thing you can do, is just download the program. Okay, just download it locally, stop the scan here, or you know what, if you cannot directly download it, just right click, copy link, and just duplicate it to your folder. You can do anything you want, like so. So here's the file, and I wanna move the 426 to 426 something something .py, make it a Python file. Then I'm going to do ls-llh Python 342, right? And it's telling you, it's giving you an example. It's telling you that if your site is vulnerable to this exploit, you want to use it like so. You want to give it a name, URL, and then a command. So the URL needs to be where the struts rest showcase is, okay? And then some kind of parameter you need to pass, and then you need to pass the command. Okay, so we still don't know where it is, we just know that it's somewhere deployed, right? SMB has been configured. I got Apache setup, will put on content later. Interesting. Another interesting find, right? Now if you remember, we are running at port 80 right now, right? So if I do port 80, this is exactly what opens up. But what happens if I switch to a different port, say 8080? We see the Apache Tomcat server. This is interesting, right? Because again, how did I know 8080? Nmap results, right? If you are seeing this, you have successfully installed Tomcat. That's interesting to know. Another thing I want to do is I want to just do 10.10.10.25 /development, and I want to look at J's text. Jay has says, I've been auditing the contents of ST Shadow to make sure we don't have any weak credential. I was able to crack your hash really easily. You know our password policy, please follow it. Change that password ASAP. Okay, so that means one of the passwords in the etc shadow files inside the Linux machine has very weak hash, and we can brute force the hash. Okay, that's a hint. Then if we look at the Apache Tomcat, we see 3 buttons here. There is a manager app, host manager, and server status. So if I click on the manager app, it gives me username, password, login, right? So one of the things I like to do is just to take Apache Tomcat, just the name, and look for default credentials, because you will not believe how many times people will leave the default credentials. So I'll click here on GitHub for Apache Tomcat default credentials, and you see a list. So admin password, admin password, admin, admin. So I will try a few manually, and then we'll automate it if need be. So admin, 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 password doesn't seem to work, right? And it tells you that, hey, it doesn't work. There's also Tomcat secret as one of the older ones, if I remember. So let's try that. Tomcat secret. Yeah, doesn't work definitely. For the manager GUI, this clearly doesn't seem to be working. Host manager, I think that's also going to ask for a password. I'm going to again try the common passwords. It is important to make sure you try these common passwords, because what happens is many times, okay, Tomcat secret is something I should try because it clearly looks like they want me to try it. Host manager, Tomcat. Yeah, that's not gonna work. So we get a 401 unauthorized, okay, but it does tell us where the users are and where to examine, but we cannot examine because we don't have the access, right? So, but we do have the documentation. So for example, we do know that if you click on server status, it allows you to, asks you to log into the manager GUI. So we do know that that's there, right? So we know though that we have a login page. We can now, at least to some extent, try to brute force. I'm not saying we will successfully brute force it. I'm saying we can try to brute force it. Okay. So at this point, what do you want to do is you want to look for some other interesting stuff, because brute forcing should usually be done on username and password when you are either sure there is a password or you are sure you have a list that can break it. Even when you're not sure, I do not have a powerful enough list on me right now. No issues. We'll look for some other ways. So let's go back to our script, right? And unfortunately, it looks like we won't be getting to use this, at least not today. So let's go out and let's try to plan something else. What else can we do? We can run some more enumeration techniques. We can do things like Enum for Linux, for example, which is a very popular tool you can run. Again, it tells me that Enum for Linux is not available. Please do blah 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 to install it. So I'm just going to do snap install enum for Linux. and it's going to ask me for my password, and then go ahead and install Enum for Linux. So let's give it a few seconds for the installation to successfully complete for Enum for Linux. And I'm using the Snap daemon system to install Enum for Linux. Now, if I do Enum for Linux and I try to open its man page, I think it might not open. Yeah, because this is a snap. So we have to do Enum for Linux -- help. And now you will see a bunch of information, right? So we can see that this is a tool, blah, blah, blah. It lets you, pipe a specific, host name, and then it scans that host, yada, yada, yada. Again, these are things you can look into later. I am just going to do enum for Linux -v for verbose. And I am also going to check if I can mention a host directly. So user list, machine list, share list, password policy, simple enumeration, enumerate users. So this is for SMB scanning. Okay, SMB, we know that it's there, and this is a very popular tool that can scan for SMBs. So brute force share names. No, I don't want to do all that right now. Perfect. So I'm going to do 10, 10, 425. And I'm going to save that in enum for linux.log. Okay. And there we go. You can see the scanning is starting to fly. Some of it will work, some of it will not work. I'll tell you the reasons later. Here is the scan. It is done. Okay. And you get a error message from RPC client, which says that, hey, SMB config doesn't seem to exist. Okay. So yes, I think I remember this issue. Yep, I do. So if I do etc smb, there's not gonna be an SMB folder. Yes. What if I do Samba? Even Samba doesn't exist. Here's half your problem. You have to do sudo apt install Samba for this, so that you have a configuration file and a folder for the configuration file, and we'll run the command again. So as you can see, hacking is not only about running commands, it's also about solving problems so that your commands actually run. In this case, you can see, we ran so many commands, but we barely got any information. For example, partial password policy, it says it retrieved, but I can't seem to find it. So many times what is happening is, okay, impacket is also not installed. So we need to install impacket. Okay. We can see that this has no writing. I can use the anonymous user. Okay. Mapping to user share anonymous. Okay. So that looks like there's an anonymous share, and we have the listing and mapping capability, but we cannot write to it, but we can read it, right? So we'll try to download some stuff out of it. And here are the shares. So SMB again is a sharing service, file sharing service. To share things, you need to create a share. Here are two shares. One is anonymous, one is IPC. So why is it taking so long with my internet? This should not be that much of an issue. Okay. Yeah, that's too slow. But the problem is, if we don't install SMB, we won't have access to the next command I'm going to do, without which you won't be able to download files from the anonymous, which is on the disk. So we will need these configuration files. Okay. So let's go down. Okay, there we go. Installation started. We also need to install Impacket after this. Impacket will also give us some great tools, which is the Python library and a module. So we will do pip 3 install Impacket. There we go. And it should just quickly go ahead and install it if my internet is working perfectly fine. There we go. Successfully built Impacket, successfully collected packages. And there is some issue. Pip's dependency resolver does not take into account all the packages installed. This behavior. Okay, yeah, that's completely fine. That's completely fine. These packages won't cause an issue. So now Impacket, different Impacket tools like client. Yeah, so SMB client works perfect. So now we can use SMB client or RPC client to do further communication. So here's some tricks that I'm going to show you how to get into the machine. Okay, you can consider this a 101 to pen testing SMB as well. This will get you some nice idea of how to attack SMB. Usually, port 139 and 445 are the ones where you see SMB. So here's how you deal with it. Okay, are there any questions? If there's any questions, you can ask me right now. So let's do nbt scan dash r 10 10 4 25. Okay, yes, of course. Address already in use. Yes, this will not work like so. I will have to do a /24. Even then, okay, so that means it's telling me that you cannot just try to scan it like so. Okay, what if I do it using, say, Nmap? So I can do sudo nmap dash dash script, and I am going to look for any safe script or the smb enum script dash everything. So do it for everything, and I want dash p 445, and then the IP which is 10.10.4.25. I also want my Nmap scan to be verbose in nature. Okay. A source IP must be provided for the argument to short. What? Error. Please specify your Shodan API. No. Okay, so the safe is running a Shodan API, which where it shouldn't. Okay. So let's just try like so. This should work. The Shodan called the Shodan script. I did not need that Shodan script right now. Okay, there we go. The script ran and we got an error. Okay. It looks like something is missing. So let's do a -d for debug. Let's to find out where the issue is. Okay. We got a bunch of errors spewed to our screen. We definitely got 445 is up. That's cool. But let's try to go back to the top and see what the error really is. It tells us that open SSL error, function null unsupported. Okay, so it looks like it's an open SSL error of some sort, and account added gets to the account list. SMB name errors through an error. Okay, so it looks like Nmap is having some issues with the open SSL or the SSL library is installed on my system. So we need to depend on other systems now. So I'll try to use the RPC client and connect to RPC. So is RPC client installed? No, it is not, but I can install it by doing SMB client. But this install SMB client, not RPC client. Okay, whatever you say, Ubuntu. At this point, even RPC client is there. Perfect. Okay, it looks like Ubuntu was right. So let's do a help, and I want to specify the port number with -p and -capital I for destination. So -capital I for 10.10.4.25 -small p for port. Before specifying port, let's see if it can take it automatically. So I'm just going to do it like this. Not give it any username. Let's do a no username login and a -capital N. No, capital N. I think it's capital N only, right? Yeah, capital N only. Yeah. Okay, so RPC client did open a connection. It looks like. Okay, that's really good actually. Let's do a help. Okay, so it looks like we are on the box, if I'm not wrong. So let's try to query user, and it's asking for the RID. Yes, exactly. So let's go towards the top. Okay, we definitely got in. It looks like at least we have some information. So we have some connection properties. Let's look at them. NT status object name not found. Could not initialize MD SSVC. Okay. We have echo. Okay, so we can always echo data. We have EPM lookup, which will look up a binding. We have NTS, VCS, but these services for now we don't need them. We have the witness, okay, which lists the witness in client interfaces. We have the Cilius API. That doesn't help us much either. Okay. Okay. What if I just run ls? So can I run any normal commands? Again, I do not remember the syntax. So it looks like I cannot. Interesting. So then the question is, if the connection has opened up, can I get any sort of information? Yes, I was able to get some information. Get username worked. This is an anonymous login. And I am NT authority. Okay. I can create a secret, delete a secret, query a secret. Okay, that's interesting. Set a secret, retrieve private data, store private data, create trusted domain, and delete trusted domain. Okay. So we do seem to have some privileges, but doesn't look to be a lot. Let's do enum privs. Let's see what kind of privileges we have. We have 9 privileges. Machine account privilege, take ownership, backup privilege, restore privilege, remote shutdown privilege. Okay. That's a lot of privileges. So this clearly looks like a path for entry. Definitely interesting. Definitely something you wanna spend some time with. Okay. Okay. What about enum domain users? Does that work? Okay, we don't get anything, but that was a right command. Enum domain groups. Let's see, that gives me some groups. That also does not seem to work. Okay. What if I try to do something like okay, you have the debug level, you have the exit program, you have the S channel force. Okay, choose and can transfer for RPC operations. Set illicit trusted domains. Enumerate privileges. Get the privilege name. Enumerate trusted domains. Okay, do that. Okay, again, no information. So it looks like there is some, there is some restriction to what we can and cannot do. Okay, so enumerate domains worked, and we know that there is a built-in default domain, and then there is a basic to domain. Okay, that's very helpful actually. That's very nice to know. So can I do query domain? Query domain info, can I do? Okay, yeah. So we are in a work group. Server is basic 2, so we are running a Samba server on Ubuntu. We have 0 total users, 0 total groups. That's why the users in the groups commands are empty. 0 aliases. This is the sequence number. Force log off is not allowed. Server role is role domain PDC. Okay. What more can I get? Can I do enumerate domain users? Okay. Can I do user? Okay, so that's not a command. Okay. We tried groups that did not work for us. Can I get the domain administrator group, which is usually going to be 0 across 200? So can I do query group 0 across 200? Okay, it has to be query. Yeah, yeah, that's completely correct. Is it not? Yeah, that is. Query group 0 across 200. Okay, so no such group. What about NT100? Okay, 500 is always the default. Okay, so yeah, so clearly groups do not exist. Can I query a user? Okay, but for that I need to know that there is a user. So if that is the case, then I can query the user, and I can query administrator, right? And anti status none mapped. Okay, so it looks like we don't have any user mapped here, which is interesting. Privileges we did get, nothing additional extraordinary. So get domain working directory info. Let's see what we give here, which is the password info. So we get minimum length 5. Okay, so that is an interesting rule we can note down, that the password on the system has to be, SMB password has to be a minimum of 5. What else can we do? Something like get user dom info. And what if I pass it the standard O cross 500? Will it give me a result? Okay. Will it give me a result if I cross it, say a random string? Yeah. You need to give it the exact ID of the user, which we do not have. Okay. What about okay, that is interesting. That is very interesting. 6 IDs were found. If I assume one is the guest account and one is the administrator account, we still have some users on this box. Okay. Can I create a user? Do I have the privilege? Let's see. Create domain user. I'm just going to call this user hacker. Let's see. See, we do not have the privilege to create a user on the box. That would be really simple. We could have just created a user, get the access to the disk, and just popped a shell. But it looks like we do not. The access was denied for us. So it looks like anonymous login doesn't really do justice. Okay. You can also look up names here. So we can do things like look up names for administrator. Okay. Administrator not found. What about basic 2? Okay. So that gives us a domain with the last 3 ID of 869. Okay. That's interesting. Keep that in mind. Let's enumerate. Okay, let's look for the built-in group. Didn't find it. What about basic 2? Yeah, that's not a group. What about the, I think administrator is also a group, if I'm not wrong. No, it's not. So the built-in didn't seem to be UILTIN, right? That's the spelling, right? Yeah, so we don't have anything in the built-in user as well. So that doesn't seem to be working. So let's look at the share. So we can do net share enum, and we see Samba anonymous share with no password. Okay. Say net share enum all, net share. Okay, I'm just going to copy it because the commands are long and confusing. Let's run that. It tells us that there's 2 shares here, anonymous and IPC. Okay, IPC is the IPC service running on default. That's connected to C temp, and that's connected to C Samba anonymous. Okay. What else can we get? So say that I want to get net share get, I think it was info. Yeah. And then you can type in the name of the share. In my case, it's anon YMOUS anonymous. We get a bunch of more data. Okay. We get the type, permissions, max users. We get access allowed for everyone. We get synchronize access, write owner access, write DAC access, read control access, and delete access. SID S110. Okay. So if I remember correctly, there are no domain groups, right? Yeah, there's no domain groups. So if that is the case, then can I query disp info? Okay, let's see. No, we cannot. Can I create a domain group called new GROUP? No, I cannot. Okay, so it looks like this really is a dead end. You know, it looks like this really is a dead end. Okay, interesting. So let's exit out of it. So before I proceed further, I might be a little bit time constrained today, but no issues. We can always do it tomorrow. But before all of that, I have a question I want to ask all of you right now. All of I did, right? Right. Enum for Linux does show some Unix users, sir. Yes, I know it does. But I'm not going into that because I know there is a very simple trick in RPC to get in. So here's your task for today. Okay. Today, what I want you all to do is to go make an account on TryHackMe, a free account. You can use a real mail, fake mail, does not matter. Okay. Once you've made the account, do the basic pen testing till the level I have done. This video will be up on YouTube, so you can always watch it. So you won't have any issues in terms of who's watching it and who's not, you know, like how do I access it and this and that. That's the first point. Try to get to at least where I am, and I'll show you the rest of the solution because I know the solution, but I'm going the longer route for another reason. I want to show you that functionality abuse is better than exploits. I repeat, functionality abuse and trust abuse is better than using exploits. Okay. Now with that, I will end today's session because I can see that a lot of you are having questions like, oh my God, what did he just teach, right? So it's okay, it's fine. Do it yourself, take your time. The attendance link will be shared on the group in a few minutes. So you can fill it on the group itself, okay? I would also like to point out that the post-graduation diploma for cyber defense is nearing its end line. And we request you that if you're interested, please contact Sarvesh, me, or Bhartiya Cybersec at Bhartiya Cybersec on Telegram, which is also known as Rocky, the hacker Rocky. Contact any one of these three people to quickly get into communication. Okay, if you if you are interested in that, and we have an early bird offer right now going on. So those who do come in, they will get a instant 5% discount. Instant. Some people might also be lucky to receive a 10% discount on the post-graduation diploma for cyber defense. Similarly, for our internship program, which is the Cyberversity certified cyber threat intelligence internship, we will be basically taking you to a 2 to 4 months journey of learning cyber threat intelligence. Just one small topic of what will be taught in the PGDSP, which is cyber threat intelligence, and we'll be teaching you, drilling that into you. So cyber threat intelligence, the internship right now, that costs rupees 1,500, and you have to donate on our website. There is a big donate button on our website that you can click on and go and donate. Once you have donated, please send the screenshots to either me or to Rocky, or to anybody in my team. You know, you can send it to Sarvesh as well. Anybody in my team, feel free to send the screenshots and we'll add you to the project. Please make sure that you're doing it if you want to be part of the internship before 16. After 16, the same internship will be costing 5,000 rupees because we will charge late fees, because you guys have been informed about the internship for more than 2 weeks now. So the donation is going to rise up to 5,000 rupees for the internship alone. So I highly recommend before 16. If you guys are interested into OSINT, UINT, CryptoINT, and all types of different intelligence, social engineering, both real world and cyber, then it is definitely a project you should look into. Okay. Finally, I will answer some questions. Some people are asking how to install hacking tools on Arch-based systems without Black Arch or Arch Strike. Is there a way to do so? Yes, there is. As a matter of fact, let me show you. There's a very simple way for all those who are interested in learning more about Linux. Black Arch is actually a fantastic repository, more than a distribution. I would say it's more of a repository. And you can actually just go to the Black Arch site, go to the download section, and select this option right here, which says installing on top of Arch Linux. It will take you to certain guides, right? This guide right here. You want to just follow these commands on your Arch Linux system till here. And this will let you access the Black Arch tools onto your Arch Linux system. Okay. So you do not need to download Black Arch. You can make your own system from scratch. For example, here in this Ubuntu system, every tool I need, I am installing. I am not running Kali Linux, right? I am not running Parrot Linux. I am installing the tools I need, and I will remove them. This way, later on, this way, my system stays lightweight. So say that you are not doing this in a virtual machine, and you are doing this inside, say, a virtual, in a real system. Installing thousands of tools can slow down your system, even if it is Linux. So it is recommended only get those tools which you absolutely must use and need. Okay. Some people are asking, don't install everything from Black Arch. SRN4N, SF47, whoever you are, please do not install every tool from Black Arch. There are categories in Black Arch. So if you see here, you can actually pick and choose different categories, and you can choose specific packages and tools. You don't have to install everything. Sir, I have Kali Linux, then do I need to download Arch? No, you don't know. Yeah, I am hacking on Ubuntu. See, do I have a Kali Linux? It doesn't matter. You use Kali, you use Arch, you use Windows. I know people who have made their entire career on Windows. I know people who made their career on Mac OS, right? So you don't have to be on a certain system. Just take one system, learn it well, and stay with it. That is the lesson here. So with that, I'll end today's class. Thank you so much for being a part of today's session. Tomorrow we'll be continuing, and day after tomorrow we'll be continuing with this machine. I will explain you the entire thinking methodology of a penetration test, start to finish. Once we are done with that, and as well as the research that goes into it, right? Once we are done with that, we'll be coming back and visiting some topics that are remaining in the Cyber Rakshak beginner. And with that, we'll give you a final project. Once you upload it, you will all receive the certificates in your mail ID. Okay. So with that, we will end this today's meet. Thank you so much for being part of Cybervidyapeeth's Cyber Rakshak Beginners, day 19. We hope to see you tomorrow. Please contact at Bhartiya Cybersec, or Xerox, also known as at Stupid Pineapples on Telegram, for any queries or regarding any financing, loan, payment issues, anything like that regarding PGDCD, Cyber Rakshak Acharya, or just your internship program. We will feel free to answer all your doubts and questions. Thank you so much. Dhanyavad. Jai Hind.